Welcome to episode 44 of PuckPod by VE Sports. I'm Brian. I'm here with David and Christian. I just want to open up and say, Christian, happy birthday, my friend.
Oh yeah, I'll take the belated birthday wishes. Thank you very much. Yeah, yesterday was my birthday. Just had family over. I always like in my head 6 months before my birthday. I'm like, yeah, I'll do something like I'll plan something, I'll host something, like have a bunch of people over. And then like 2 weeks before my birthday, I'm like, I really don't have the effort and will to do that.
Never.
So
Not
it's
once.
always just a low key birthday, but I kind of prefer it that way, honestly. But thank you very much.
Christian, I have a question for you.
Hit me.
Did you have birthday cake yesterday?
Of course, my friend. Of
Okay.
course.
What type of cake did you have?
So my go-to
Yeah.
is a nice Dairy Queen ice cream cake with that like
That's a,
chocolate filling inside.
that's a good show.
That's always
That
the
is a
best
good
Mm,
show.
part.
That
Like
is
if
a
they
really
made a
good show.
cake of just that inside part, I would have
Yeah.
I
just
would
that.
just eat that.
The
That's
crumble,
that
it's addictive. It's
that is a
addictive.
good one.
Yeah.
Especially for like, you got like the end of summer, beginning of fall type of birthday. A nice ice cream cake always
Yes.
hits the spot. But I have to say, I think undisputed GOAT for a birthday cake if you don't want to spend $150, which is the going rate right now for a birthday cake. And I will shout them out free promo. McCain's Deep and Delicious, baby. A nice
Oh, hey, that
chocolate.
was here too tomorrow. I mean, yesterday. That was here
Yesterday,
yesterday
you
too.
guys had it yesterday. There you go.
It's there.
$10. $10
What do you
satisfies
get?
everybody.
Chocolate or the vanilla? Which one do you
Always
get? Doesn't
chocolate.
matter.
Always
Yeah.
chocolate. But I'm also
Yeah.
not opposed if the vanilla comes in. Or
I
I
don't
the
like the
marble. I
McCain's.
like the marble one as well. What?
Marble is the best of both worlds. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What did you
I think
say,
that's
bro?
my go-to.
I don't like the McCain's deep dish.
We're gonna have to end this podcast early,
Oh,
guys.
Brian.
Shout out to our partners, Fubo, and if you want to
Yeah.
get no.
I don't know. I'm not a fan. It just doesn't do it for me.
So what do
I
you
guess I
get?
want to do a little bit of non-hockey talk here for a second too. A couple days ago, so I had to get stitches because I was an idiot and I skate sharpened my hand instead of a skate last week. So this is the first time I ever had stitches in freaking 23 years of living, and I didn't realize like what the hell your hand looks like underneath there. It's freaking disgusting, boys. And I got my
Ugh.
stitches out, and the doctor like separated my wound. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, bro? And it was just like this gash. Like stitches are not fun, guys. They're not fun.
No.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
So
It's
Ew.
crazy.
I knocked that one off the list this
Crazy
week.
that 23 years. I swear you played hockey growing up all the
I
time.
know, man.
Nothing.
I played 10 years of hockey and I never needed
Yeah.
stitches, man.
That's
But
crazy.
it's still hockey related that it got me.
Yeah.
Freaking skate sharpening my thumb instead of a skate. But
That's
that was
You know
crazy.
basically the
what?
most interesting thing that happened to
As
me this week.
as long as you didn't damage the skate baiting, you didn't get fired like somebody else.
Wow.
Listen. My manager, I spoke to her and she was just like, maybe take my advice and wear gloves. I was like, listen, sometimes you have to do dumbass things to realize when you're being a dumbass. And so yeah, now I'll refrain from being a dumbass, but not
Think
firing.
about think about how much paperwork you have to do now because you got hurt on the work site, right?
Yeah.
I know. I
Oh.
did feel bad about that. Yeah.
Do you have to
It's okay.
fill? Do you have to fill out the what's the term?
WSIB.
The
Yeah.
WSIB form?
Yeah, but I mean, I was
Uh,
back at work like 2 days later. I didn't miss a shift, but
nice.
yeah, yeah.
What a
Well,
trooper.
we know who's missing the rest of the season, and that is
Ooh,
Mike Babcock,
Oh,
oh
who
boy.
we
yikes.
talked about last episode, and he got sacked. And I
He
don't think
did.
anybody's really surprised.
Well, I think we kind of were surprised because I
I was
think
surprised.
the consensus out of our last podcast was if he gets fired for this, it's kind of like okay, like sure, maybe they'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this, but I guess we found out really quickly, and the rest of the hockey world, and especially Mike, found out that if we thought his leash was like at 1 foot, he
it's
had
two
no
centimeters.
leash. He had nothing. He had no slack on that leash whatsoever, right? And it's kind of crazy how I'm pretty sure within 2 hours of us saying, maybe it's a 50-50 if he gets fired. We read off
Yeah,
some of the quotes and stuff, and he then got fired 2 hours later. Wow. Like
like if
crazy.
you were put on the spot right after our pod last Sunday, I would have ventured to say he stays.
Yeah, I would have
would we
too.
have been in agreement, right? So
Yeah.
that's where I was at on it. I mean, obviously, like the info we got after our pod changes things.
Mhm.
This is basically him resigning is really one of those resignations that are really, you've been fired, but we're gonna not give you the humility, or we won't humiliate you by saying Mike Babcock has been fired. We'll make this out mutually agreed to part ways thing. We know what happens here, right? Like we can skip the baloney. So yeah, like the reporting came out after our pod, the stuff about like the specific incident where like he had a phone to himself for multiple minutes. That I understand it.
That's
Like
weird.
totally unprofessional,
I think
weird.
the craziest was the unknown younger player
Yeah.
who was invited to Mike's house for lunch, was asked forcibly to get his phone checked,
Yeah.
and then left with no lunch. Like, Mike, if you're gonna fuck me, at least feed me first. Like,
Oh
what
God.
the hell is going on
It's
here?
it's like he didn't like the memes on the phone. He wasn't happy with the memes. It's like too many TikTok memes here.
Yeah.
Not enough. I don't know what memes Babcock looks at, honestly. Probably none.
Does he?
But
I don't
yeah,
think so.
yeah, probably not. He's like, what's a meme? He's one of those
But
guys.
he is a main
He's
type of guy.
yeah. I mean, I little sub story out of the Babs thing because I don't know. We don't really have to spend too much time on it. But I feel like Boone Jenner and like Gaudreau are catching a lot of flack from this now because they had said their statements, or in Jenner's case, like put out the statement through the Blue Jackets Twitter. I don't think they were lying. Like they did not outright lie about their experiences and how they felt about it. I think what they were saying could be entirely true. And the reality of this is every situation with Babs and these players was different. So I want to go to bat for them a little bit there. I don't think they did anything wrong. Sure, maybe like on Jenner's case, you could say he's the captain. He should have. How did he not hear about this uncomfortable stuff from the younger players? But specific to his statement about how he felt about the situation, he could be entirely truthful about saying he felt comfortable with it, and the younger player to feel totally uncomfortable with it. I think both of those things can be true. So that's basically all I gotta say on this.
You explained it really well, and I don't know. Like my take on this is that I just had a feeling it was gonna get sacked. It just didn't look right, and at the end of the
The
day,
optics are bad, yeah.
yeah.
There were.
How often would he have been at, like, let's say you'd stayed, how often would he have had to answer questions not related to hockey throughout the season, right? You'd have been tested at every road market you went to because you'd have the reporters of the opposing team being like, hey, Babs, I'm from Chicago. I haven't gotten to speak to you all season. I'm going to ask you about it,
Dude,
right?
you're gonna tell me if he stayed on that Yarmo and all the boys up and down that list would have absolutely hated coming to Toronto, because that's going to be talking point number one. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're scheduled to come to Toronto within the first few weeks of the season. If I'm not mistaken, it's like end of October meeting. So that's it's not like it's a January type of game, you know what I mean?
Everyone can forget about it a little bit.
Yeah, either way, I think that would have been a recurring story throughout the season. But dude, within like a month of the season starting, I wouldn't be surprised if that is a big reason why. I think they've got a few games like prime time type of games at the beginning of the season, and it's just not even worth.
They probably play in the division, right? Like Rangers, Flyers, like those are big markets too.
Those are big markets.
You can make the Torts connection, be like, oh, Torts is a hard ass. What's the difference between Torts and
what
Babs,
happens
right?
when Philly comes to town the first time, or when they go to Philly the first time, right?
Honestly, who are we kidding though? When they come to Toronto, they're still going to get questions about it.
There will,
and the best part is that the Leafs players will, right? Yeah. Not just the Columbus players. The Leafs players will get questions about it.
I think one point I do want to make, I believe it was on. Now I'm losing my train of thought. It was on Boone Jenner.
Spin and Chicklets, 3-2 thought. Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to.
Yeah, it was on Boone Jenner.
Oh, okay.
So I did see a podcast that so Paul Bissonnette was the one that broke the story, and he went on a podcast and said that he did have remorse to have outed Boone Jenner like that, which I get. So now I think one of the biggest stories, I don't know if you guys will agree with this, but the biggest story I think going forward for the Columbus Blue Jackets should be directed at Boone Jenner. He is the captain of the team. Now, this is probably the biggest obstacle he will potentially ever have to face in his pro hockey career. How does he now go forward and navigate? He's a relatively newer captain. Like he's only been around for, I would say, a few seasons since Nick Foligno.
I think exactly.
Nick Foligno left, right?
Yeah.
He must have been named just after Foligno left. So that's within the last couple of years. So this is, it's not like it's somebody who we're going to be talking about later, Steven Stamkos, having to go through something like this. Like Steven Stamkos has, he's probably got about 10 years of captaincy under his belt. But, for Boone now, how does he galvanize his already young locker room? They've got a good mix of like young guys. I would say they're leaning towards a lot of those younger guys. They've got a good mix of veteran leadership, including Boone and other players.
And they want to be competitive.
And they do want to be competitive. How do they move forward, and how does he move forward with this team going forward, especially being like, kind of thrown under the bus before the season even started? So I think that's just something to watch.
Last thing, credit to the Chicklets podcast, who I honestly, I doubted their sources a little bit too, just in terms of it felt like an exaggeration maybe of the story, that they are self-admittedly a players podcast, as Biz put out on Twitter. So you're only getting the players side of the story, which, like David brought up last podcast, right? There's one side, another side to the story, and then there's the truth. Honestly, it ended up being totally the truth. So shout out to the Chicklets guys for sticking to their sources, because they did honestly great reporting in the end.
For sure.
Amazing how that story worked out and all it concluded. Let's move on to something a little bit more electric. Let's talk about Logan Cooley with the goal of the year in September.
So
in Melbourne.
Yeah.
In the most
literally across the world, like 24 hours away almost.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, 12 hours away.
There's gonna be a kid from Australia that ends up being like a amazing NHL player, like an Austin Matthews level player, and you're gonna hear the story of like how he was there in the stands when Logan Cooley scored that goal.
Yeah, well, I mean, funny enough, like that's Austin Matthews' origin story, hero or villain, however, whatever side of the coin you decide to sit on. But that's, he was in, I believe that was Scottsdale at the time for the Caps and Yotes when. And I don't even we don't even need to bring up the goal. I'm pretty sure if you're watching this podcast, you know what Ovechkin goal we're talking about. The only one that he scored on his back. Like the guy wasn't, his head was facing the rafters as the puck went into the net. Like Brian, you said it the day of, and I was like, wow. Like just to put it into perspective, like how many Australian NHL players has there been? I think it's like Nathan Walker, maybe one other. Is he the only one?
I think he's the first. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze here. Take over for me, boys.
So the point that I'm getting at is, if like one moment won't be the sole fact, like the sole reason to bring a whole market into the fold, basically, like the Australian market, which is what they wanted, what they're going for here. But it certainly does quite a bit. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, Logan Cooley alone is going to make the next Australian hockey player. But if you have Logan Cooley doing this type of stuff now, weekly, you're probably gonna get quite a few eyes
viewers
on. Yeah, you're probably gonna get quite a few Australian, like Arizona Coyotes fans. Like I think right now that franchise could use any eyes that they get. But wow, what a goal! I have another question: can this goal be considered goal of the goal of the season? Because it's technically the preseason. Is it you know what I mean?
I don't think it can, because it's not like an official goal. But I'll tell you what. It was pretty freaking nice.
Like, I guess do it in a regular game. Yeah, but I think we can say maybe goal of the preseason. Like he's got that one wrapped up, right? Hopefully he's got that one wrapped up.
I would argue goal of any preseason ever. Like I don't think we've seen a nicer preseason goal.
Maybe I don't have no idea, honestly. That's the best preseason I can remember by a Leaf I don't know if you remember this, Dave. There was one preseason where a Leaf led the league in goal scoring. Okay, tied with actually Ovechkin with 9 points and I think 7 games. It was Mr. Victor Stahlberg.
Oh,
who
Victor
just
Stahlberg.
decided to be gross for preseason. Absolutely gross. Who are you thinking about?
I was thinking of Yuri Tlusty. I thought Yuri Tlusty had that hype behind him.
Yeah, no, I don't. I wouldn't be able to remember honestly what his stats were. That's ways
really far back.
Yeah,
but Victor Stahlberg.
Okay. Victor Stahlberg had quite the preseason. Didn't have the same type of regular season, but when you were a Leaf fan in those times, you celebrate those types of things. Couple things on the Cooley stuff. This is more Coyotes in general, but like if you had to assign a jersey to Australia, a hockey jersey, out of all the NHL teams, like to me the Coyotes is the closest thing we got. Like if Australia had to wear a jersey, that's the jersey, right? Maybe we just relocate Arizona to Australia and keep the name, whatever. Like, it's not that bad. I kid, but on the goal itself, Cooley, gross as hell. But I actually want to talk about a different Arizona prospect who outdid Cooley. He wasn't in Australia, though. And he's the son of a former Coyote. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? He had a hat trick, actually, this week.
Is it Shane Doan's son?
Shane Doan's son, Josh Doan, scored a hat trick in his first preseason game for the Coyotes.
Wow.
I think he might make the team out of camp. Like, he's going to probably make his debut this year. So, shout out to Shane Doan's son. Shane Doan was now with the Leafs. So, sorry, Brian. I had to rain on Cooley, okay? He's actually not the most important prospect.
Was he not like... He wasn't like a high pick, was he not? Was he like a fourth rounder, fifth rounder?
An honorary pick, right?
I had
like
thought that. No, you see, I had thought that. I thought like he was like whatever in college, and then like he was one, like you guys are saying, honorary pick. He went second round, 37th overall.
Oh.
Like he was actually up there, but I remember people saying that was a reach. People were saying that, but he's actually now putting the skill into the pick, and he looks like he could actually make the team out of camp. So,
there's
kudos to him.
There's probably something in that. If he does make it out of camp, you know, could Arizona have found maybe a better option with that pick? You know, especially because they don't really have players, but maybe getting picked by, you know, your dad's the legend of the team, like the legend of the team. You know, sometimes maybe that just puts a chip on his shoulder. Like maybe he wasn't the pick to go for there, but maybe it just turns out to be the pick. Like, you know what I'm trying to get at? Like, maybe talent-wise, he wasn't the pick there, but maybe he just turns out to be that pick. I'm rooting for Josh Doan. There's another feel-good story in the NHL to look
honestly,
for.
Man, like I'm looking at like who went in around that area. Like he fits. Like there's no one who's like crazy, like a steal in that range.
I can give you 3 players that they passed on that were like would have. Logan Stankoven.
Okay.
Went to Dallas.
How close was he to this pick?
So Josh Doan went 37. Stankoven, I believe, went like 47 or something like that.
Yeah.
Atu Ratti, 52, and then the last one, 57.
The thing with
that guy's pretty good.
With Atu
and he's from Arizona too.
Yeah. The only thing with Atu Ratti was that his stock plummeted like big time. So I don't know if
he was the number one, man. He was a consensus number one the year before the draft here.
Yeah. He was. So I don't know. Maybe that's not. Yeah. I mean, I guess.
You know what?
Here's another thing.
Works out for them.
Here's another thing too. Like, if you're getting picked like 50 in the 50 range, teams already like overlooked you probably twice. So now it's kind of like up to you to prove yourself, basically. So it's not like you're passing up on talent. Like, I don't know. It's always good to see. I like the hometown. I like the feel good story though. So we'll keep an eye out for Josh Doan. Maybe we'll get Josh Doan on the pod at some point soon.
Sounds like a great idea.
His opinion.
Okay, let's move into the next topic. 2 teams release special jerseys for next season. The Minnesota Wild, my hometown team, and the Winnipeg Jets, my other hometown team.
Your real hometown team.
Well,
Yeah, this is
technically,
like
I mean,
3, to be honest.
there's 3.
This is well, so you have like your favorite team, then you have your actual hometown team, and then this is hometown number 2.
Two
Well,
and three, 3 and
You want to
4.
get
Yes.
technical?
Yeah.
Hometown
Yeah,
2 and 3.
yeah. Actually, yeah, both of them. That's true. Yeah.
Which one's
So
closer?
yeah, Minnesota's closer by like an hour.
Wow,
Okay.
it's crazy. It's crazy. You're closer to the States than you are to another Canadian NHL team.
It's true.
That's pretty funny. Well, I mean, I guess it's the same thing if you're like in Windsor, right? You'd
Yeah.
be closer
Detroit,
to
yeah.
Detroit. But
Could also be
I
a
like guys.
Sabres
Are we in
fan.
agreement here? Like Wild Jersey, 10 out of 10. Like,
Yeah,
is an
100%.
even
10 out of 10.
conversation.
But bonus points for what they did with the
You're right.
captaincies.
11
Mhm.
out of 10 confirmed. No, it's actually really cool. They went with, for anyone who hasn't seen the picture, it's an outline of the Minnesota State. And then they put like the A or the C on the patch there. Obligatory screw jersey patches because it ruins the jersey just a little bit, because it doesn't fit the color scheme. But that's kind of the NHL now. So what can we do with that? 10 out of 10 still.
But this time, yeah, they home run with it. They did a good job.
Was
Okay.
Go full time to these.
did we not I think it was either Brian or Chris. I think maybe it was Christian who said that the Wild were like, you saw something somewhere that the Wild were looking to go to the North Stars colors full time. Was that not you when we were doing like the reverse retros?
I think so. It might have been this what they ended up doing, that full as a full-time third jersey. Maybe that's what it was.
Dude,
But
just
I
rebrand.
do think no, 100. I 100% agree with that because their first reverse retro was the away version of this. Like you
Yeah.
have the kit ready.
Yeah.
I
No,
would absolutely go
I
full
say
time.
honestly, I just
Yeah.
say make the like listen, I don't
If they
mind
took
the
a fan
Arizona
poll,
colors.
it would be 80%
Sorry.
in support of it.
Yeah, for the main like for the North Stars colors, right?
Yeah.
Like the Minnesota,
Yeah.
I think the Wild colors right now are all right. They are like a 6, 7, maybe on a good day.
Their
But,
current
dude,
jerseys are better than they had like in the mid 2010s. I honestly hated their mid 2010s, but it's
the
passable now.
circle,
There's worse jerseys. Yeah, the circle,
Yeah.
just a little too much red and whatever. They
Lots of maroon.
incorporated way more beige now.
Yeah.
And the beige, it hits right.
Yeah.
There's worse jerseys, but it's still not good. But these would take him like top of the league.
Yeah, 100%. Just they're enough. If we're gonna tell teams to start rebranding, I think we're gonna start seeing them within the next like 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Now that Fanatics is coming in, Arizona. Sorry, not Arizona. Anaheim, Minnesota, rebrand, change it up. Yeah, those two top of my head.
Consensus 10 out of 10 for Minnesota. Consensus 3 out of 10 for Winnipeg.
I don't like them at all. I'm at like a 5. Because I did think about it. I'm like, there is worse jerseys that have existed, like the Detroit reverse retro from 2 years ago, Chicago. Honestly, maybe even both of the Jets reverse retros. One of them for sure. The first reverse retro sucked. It was the gray one. That one sucked.
Dude, anytime you're putting gray primary on a jersey, it just sucks the life out of everything.
Yeah, unless you're the Kings.
That's like the only... even the gray Kings, I don't like. I would rather them hit the Lakers colors or something instead of the gray. Like go black or go purple and yellow. Don't use gray.
I like the attempt that the Jets tried with the RCAF, like Royal Canadian Air Force thing.
The history they're pulling from is very good. Like you could come up with a great jersey. I just don't like the execution. They went for an old-timey look, but I actually feel that we've kind of swung the pendulum the other way with the powder blue. Powder blue was like the throwback color. Like when the Penguins did it, it was like, oh, that's a throwback. That's so nice. So many teams have done it now, just in all of sports, and maybe not just hockey. But off the top of my head, Jays, Brewers, Cardinals, the Royals, the Jets here, the Habs. That's just 2 sports. There's probably a team in NFL and maybe even one NBA who have. The Lakers did it. They did it twice actually. They did it one with powder blue and dark blue, and powder blue with purple. So we've swung the pendulum so far that I now look at powder blue as a modern color. And for a throwback jersey, I think they would have been better suited to go with white as the primary here. That's my take on it.
No, I agree. And I feel like they definitely could have done a better job. Given, like, you just have so much to work with given the history and stuff like that. It's unfortunate
But
that the
they
next
have beautiful jerseys, just like the Wild. They
they
have
do.
2 beautiful jerseys sitting there. The original Jets logo. You don't even have to go with the original color scheme with bright blue and bright blue and bright red. They did those ones for a Heritage Classic where it was the navy blue and the darker red. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I don't understand if you poll the fans and there's 75+% support for the change, why that doesn't happen more often. It's just weird.
Maybe they're saving it or
They're
something.
telling you they want to give you your money. Mark Chipman, Mr. Jets owner, please listen up.
Maybe they're just waiting for the rebrand that's coming. I don't know. But at least we know what works and what doesn't work, and this certainly did not work. Okay.
No.
Let's jump into the next topic. Zegras is apparently only being offered $3 to $4 million from the Anaheim Ducks. Is this a slap in the face? Is this a slap in the face to the player? Do you guys feel like he's being wronged? Because I think he is a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you who it's a slap in the face to. If I am the head of the Players Association, if I am Marty Walsh,
Right.
I am calling who's the owner of the Anaheim Ducks. I wouldn't know. Whoever the owner is, I'm calling them right now and I'm saying, why are you a franchise? Why are people paying you money to ice a hockey team? Because you clearly don't know what you're doing. Trevor Zegras, the face of, what was it, NHL 22, 23?
23.
23?
Yeah.
Does all these, he was literally on every single person's feed over the past 24 months for his Michigan style goals, his behind the net goal. Dude, that guy has single-handedly driven revenue up in the NHL by tenfold over the past 24 months, and you guys are giving him a contract comparable to like Calle Yarncroke. Are we kidding? Who are we kidding here? Who are we kidding?
If you were to measure Zegras' value in Calle Yarncrokes, like he's at least
Like
he's at least
6 of them?
3.5 Calle Yarncrokes, like at least. So they're short a few. They gotta get some more Yarncrokes in there. Yeah, no, it's a slap in the face on multiple fronts. Caveat though, a little bit of context: the $3 to $4 million AAV offer is apparently on a 3-year term, which the Ducks and Zegras agree on. They think that's the sweet spot for term. They just don't agree on dollars. I think on 3-year term, you're probably looking at 6.5. I think as a bridge deal, that makes sense. Somewhere in the $6 to $7 million range. They're absolutely short of that. Like I said, a couple Yarncrokes short of that. And the other part of the slap in the face is Pat Verbeek dished out so much money, not only this past year, but another offseason ago, his first offseason, where he gave Ryan Strome $5 million a year to suck. I'm sorry. I was never a fan of that deal from the day it was signed, and he proved it to me this season. He was not good. Vetrano, who I actually like in a vacuum, but did not do well last year. This year, Gudis, I can't remember how much they gave him. It might have been $4 million, $3 to $4 million, in that range.
I think is it 4x2?
Honestly, I think it might be 3 years. I actually don't mind the Gudis deal as much as the Killorn one. I love Killorn, great player, but he's 34 years old and he's making $6.25 million for 4 years. Are you ready for 38-year-old Alex Killorn to make $6.25 million? I don't know. I don't think that's where your priority should be if you're the Anaheim Ducks or Pat Verbeek. And I'll throw a little shout out to Drysdale in this too, who's also still an RFA. His situation is a little bit more sticky because he's coming off of an injury. He basically missed all of last year. I want to say it was a knee injury. So his is a tough one. Like his deal probably makes sense, like a 1-year deal, revisit it after he's got a healthy season. But
Jamie Drysdale needs a bet on yourself, Timothy Liljegren, Rasmus Sandin type of deal. You know what I mean? 1 year, max.
And
2
dude,
years.
I love Drysdale. I really like him. Like he's one of the guys who I think is a little bit underrated because we haven't seen him for a year. I think he has top pair potential still, definitely.
If I'm being honest with you guys, if you offer sheet him at like 6.4,
offer sheet who? Zegras?
Zegras, yeah.
I have a feeling he might not be eligible for offer sheet. I think, but I'll double check.
Oh, right, because coming off the OC. You're right, because coming off the OC. But
I think he's still too young. But still, like if the Ducks aren't going to pay him, you ask for a trade. Like I don't know what's going to happen here.
I just feel like this is the guy you want to lock up long term for for a fair number. You want to give him like a Jack Hughes kind of contract because you know he's going to sell tickets. Everybody's going to watch him. I mean, people will watch the Ducks just to watch Zegras. It's to that point now.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation.
Even though he's not like the best, I don't think he's like a top 20 player in the league right now or anything like that. But like, he's still good.
The potential is there though. Like he can do that. He's not great defensively, but tell me who's great defensively on Anaheim last year.
Not a single soul.
Like Dallas Aikens was a terrorist on the sport of hockey last year, so I don't really know if you can blame.
Actually, always because they couldn't score either.
Yeah. All of it. Yeah,
that's very true.
So I gotta come at you guys with something here. I just thought about this. If I'm a Leaf fan who feels jaded after the Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander contract negotiations, what don't you come and look at this and be like, oh, I love Paverbeek. He's being hard nosed with the young guys. You can't give them everything. You gotta grind them down in negotiations. What do you say to that? What do you say to that? Because I don't know. There's probably some people who are like, this is actually good. This is good.
Well, it's not good for the sport in the long run. I will tell you that now. Like if you are watching hockey right now, you want hockey to succeed. And if you are against this, you are living in 1996, right? So get to 2023. That's what I would say. Because it's not 25 years ago. We're not living under like authoritarian dictatorship like Gary Bettman used to have us under, you know, and the New Jersey Devils used to have the whole league under basically with their dictatorship style hockey. Like hockey's supposed to be fun. Pay your fun players the right amount of money because those fun players are bringing you in the league. That's final. Like that's it. You know who got paid? Yeah. Fun players who got paid? Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. Those guys bring in so much revenue for the sport yearly. It's like literally you couldn't even fathom it. You could see so many zeros on a page. So that's why I don't know. It's just like I'm for the players. I like to think I'm for the players, except for like, you know, when players hold out for my team. But I would say 99% of the time I'm for the players because it's just better for the whole economy of the sport. So yeah, it's a slap in the face. And I think the only reason why we're having this discussion right now is just of how god awful Anaheim was. Like, say Anaheim was finished dead last year, 32nd, but they kept it respectable like Chicago did, like Arizona did. Who else was like at the bottom of the league? Like Columbus. If they scored some goals last year, we probably don't even have this conversation. Like Trevor Zegras.
The weird part is they were respectable the year before, right? That was the whole thing. Is Anaheim was like an up and comer. Zegras rookie season, Michigan with Milano, who they then inexplicably let go. Right? Yeah, I know Brian likes that. So it's the mixed messages that I don't like. Troy Terry went down to the wire. Remember, I was like, oh my god, are they gonna let him like go to the arbitration hearing and then go to UFA? It went down to the last minute with Troy Terry, who's now on a 7x7. They locked him up because they realized, oh yeah, this guy's important. Yeah. I just don't understand the juxtaposition of here are your young cornerstones, who you should be building a relationship with, and here are veteran free agents who you're overpaying for. I don't understand how those two things go together.
I can confirm that Zegras is offer sheet eligible. So if you get him, so you can
dude, someone get on that
6.
Yeah,
dude, I'm 6x6. If that's what it takes to sign him.
It would if you get him to 6, like the highest 6.4 you'd only be paying a first and a third. A first and a third for Zegras is that's like, not cheap, right? Like that's a steal.
Yeah,
you're fleecing the Ducks at that point, especially if you're a high end team.
But
if the Ducks match, they're apparently not willing to pay that right now. So
right. So here's the thing. I think maybe the only reason why that scenario probably doesn't turn out is just for the sole fact that who has the money right now to fit that type of money in their internal,
That's a
external
good
cap
point.
system. There's very, very little teams. It's like it's literally down to like the bottom 5, I think, right now. And
they're
even
probably
at
down there
that,
because
it's
they
like,
don't want to spend that money.
yeah, exactly.
They're
And
not like, oh, we're
probably
waiting for
have
the moment.
they probably have something internal that they're working with. So that's the only
I'll just
caveat,
throw
unfortunately, against that.
I'll just throw a team up there that can do it based on their cap situation before we go on break.
Is it the
Nashville.
Washington Capitals? Oh,
No, Nashville.
Nashville.
They want their one. They can get a fun 1C there, right? And they already have a young youth lineup coming up anyway. So wouldn't that be the first guy just for a first and a third? It's not a bad
But does
look.
Barry
Zegras is probably
Trotz?
the last. Yeah, I don't see it, and yet that's exactly why I want to see it. Right?
Does Barry Trotz strike you as the person to offer sheet somebody?
Yes.
To offer sheet
Dude,
a fun like superstar. I don't know.
Yes.
Dude, we had some awesome Barry Trotz quotes. Like, didn't he say something where he's like, he told his scouting staff, he's like, leave me with the first round pick and you do the right. Like, he had some good lines.
He was like,
find me whoever.
Let me get the lock, basically, is what he said, and you guys do the background.
I think the quote was,
man. He's got cojones. He could do it.
I think the quote was something along the lines of like, shoot for the 10s, and if they end up being 6s, it's okay. Or something like that.
You know what? I think it was something where he's like, you guys go find the superstars. Don't worry, I can find the plugs. It was something like that.
I can fill out the rest of the line.
He's like, don't worry, I'll sign the fourth liners. Find me the good guys. Shout out Trotz.
We're just gonna have a quick break, and we'll be right back. We are back from our little break. Okay, so we just finished talking about Zegras getting nickeled and dimed by Pat Verbeek. Let's talk about Julien Brisebois. Nickel and diming his captain, Steven Stamkos.
Brian, can I give a shout out real quick? I'm going to give a shout out to the honorary fourth member of the podcast on this episode, your Wi-Fi, for doing really well this episode. I just want to give that shout out. Shout out to Brian's Wi-Fi today.
I'm telling you, when I go wired, it's perfectly fine. Like it's surpassed. It's the Wi-Fi in here that's not, the greatest. Thunder Bay, okay. TVTel. You're doing great sometimes, other times not, but it's okay.
Sorry, back to Stamkos. Sorry for derailing. Back to Stammer. I mean, let's give the rundown of what exactly went down here real quick.
He wants an extension. Then they didn't call him.
Yes. Yeah. And this came out the first day they returned to training camp, and reporters asked him about an extension, and he said that he wanted one before training camp. That obviously didn't happen. He was, in his words, disappointed, and then said, "It is what it is." So the reporters then went to Brisebois after the fact because he had a press conference himself, and he went into this very long soliloquy about this is how you build a roster, and Stamkos wants to win, and I want to win, and we have that in common, and so it's not just about Stamkos playing in Tampa; it's about Tampa winning while Stamkos is here. All this stuff, but just so useless because it's just like, okay, listen. You did not have to be so cold with your franchise captain who you won 2 cups with in very recent memory. I really don't see a world in which this makes too much sense to have zero dialogue. Zero dialogue. I really don't get it. And so I did some investigating myself. I pull up Cap Friendly, go on Armchair GM. Let's throw in the Tampa roster, see what it could look like next year. They can fit him. Unless Stamkos is asking for something unreasonable, they can absolutely fit him next year, as long as the cap goes up, which, I don't know. Brisebois said, I need more information. That was one of the key things he said. I don't know. You're an NHL GM. I think you know if the cap's going up next year. To all people involved, we're convinced that's happening. They should have the space. I don't get it. I really don't.
If Stamkos is only asking for 9, I don't see why it's not done now.
I think even 9 could be high. I think I looked at the comparables. He could probably ask for 7 to 9. Yeah, 9 is the high end.
9 is giving him a pay raise at 34, Brian.
Yeah.
That's where. So I think it's tricky waters that you're navigating. So here's the thing: you kind of got to look at it.
I think you do it.
No, you look at it in 2 hands here, right? There are pros and cons to signing Steven Stamkos. On one hand, you're pros, captain since, basically since he joined the team, right? Like after, like I think he's been captain since like 2011 or 2012, right?
Probably right after St. Louis left, right?
Right after, right? So probably over 10-year captain. Draft for first overall draft pick, 2008.
Ace of the franchise. Sell
Ace of the
shirts.
franchise. Two-time Stanley Cup champion. Came back in one of those Stanley Cups from like a debilitating leg injury to play like 5 minutes in the playoffs and scored a goal in the Cup finals. Like crazy, absolutely insane. Leader. From what I've seen from Lightning fans, like he is one of the most philanthropic players on the team, potentially one of the most philanthropic players in the league, does a lot for the Tampa Bay area. Now, the cons of Steven Stamkos, though, is that he is 34 years old. Like we said, like I just alluded to before, has missed significant amount of time within the past 5 years. Did he also not have was he not also left off the 2014 roster because of the blood clots? Was that him or was that JT?
I think Stamkos broke his, wasn't it his leg or no, was it the blood clots? I think blood clots
was playoffs maybe, or blood clots was
playoffs. Yeah, no, I think it was the season that he came back in where they made the playoffs and then he came back, but like the blood clots one is out of his control.
Yeah.
And it seems like it seems like a freak thing. But honestly, guys, in the past 3 years, he's been totally healthy.
He has been healthy. So there's the thing. So do you it's tough because an aging body with injury history in the past who has been healthy for the past 3 years, but what happens when the next time he picks up a significant injury? Because eventually that will happen. His body is going to start breaking down sooner than we'd probably hope. But I think all in all, what I'm trying to get at is an extension for him necessary right now? Maybe not. He actually has had two of his best seasons in terms of like points.
He was over a point per game this year. I don't know how much exactly.
I think even the year before, Brian, he was fantastic.
84 and 81 this year, and the year before 106 and 81.
106 and 81, right? So does it have to get done right away? Probably not. Where Julien Brisebois screwed up royally, and what irks everybody about this, especially Steven Stamkos, is that he wasn't even given a phone call. Dude, that is your franchise player. If you're Julien Brisebois, you invite him over to your lake house in the middle of August. You invite him and his family over for a nice barbecue. You take them out fishing, and you're like, listen, Steve, I love you as a man. I love you as a person. I love you for what you've done for this team. But right now, we are not looking to talk. You tell him eye to eye. You don't even.
It's not like he's saying no.
No,
you're saying we need to take this slowly.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. That's all Steve wants. He wants transparency from Julien Brisebois. Julien Brisebois is not giving him transparency right now.
Honestly, this is one of the only guys in the league where I'm like, pay him.
He's in that category. Sorry, go ahead, Brad.
He's in that category with like Kopitar, Kane, Ovechkin, like those, like the face of the franchise for the past decade.
Yeah.
And you want to see him retire in a bold shirt. Like you don't want to see him signing with Buffalo for $7 million next year and have him play a couple games in a Sabre shirt. Like don't ruin your legacy. He's gonna have a statue outside Almoli anyway. You might as well just keep it. And it's not gonna break the bank to keep him. I mean, look what he's done for you anyway. You're paying him for what he's done in the past at that point.
So I can understand Brisebois' thought. His thought is Julien Brisebois is gonna try to be there longer than Steven Stamkos is there. And for as long as Steven Stamkos is around and that core is around, he doesn't want to be the one to deal with a rebuild and that type of stuff, which overpaying a guy like Steven Stamkos could potentially put you into forcibly, right? Like not by his choice, but
I
putting
think Brisebois is just trying to. He has the reputation of being the one GM to win back-to-back cups with a team that's not his.
yeah.
I think that's been the consensus for the past little bit. I mean, you can argue the year that they went to the finals and lost was his team, but I think he's trying to keep a stranglehold and try to keep firm and show that, hey, I can do my GMing too, which is kind of a power play, like a power move from him. But is it the right move? Probably not.
A couple things here. First thing, I can give you guys two players and their contracts that they signed. Because Stamkos is 33, so next summer he'll be 34. Joe Pavelski in 2019 was 34 years old. He signed a 3-year deal with the Dallas Stars at $7 million. That took up 8.6% of the cap. I think that was a very good deal because he then signed 2 extensions. So he finished that 3-year deal, signed a 1-year deal, I think at 5.5, was awesome, like almost point per game. And then this year he's on a $3.5 million deal. So he went in for a 3-year deal with Dallas and he signed 2 years in 2 separate extensions. Claude Giroux, last summer, 34 years old, signed a 3-year deal at $6.5 million. Like Steven Stamkos is that type of guy, right? If we want to put him a notch higher, let's say 7.5, right? Okay, you wanna compensate for the cap going up. Let's even stretch it to 8 million. They can fit that. They actually have the space.
If
They
Julien
have the space for that.
Jude, if Julien Brisebois, reached out to Steven Stamkos, if he's on the boat with Steven Stamkos and he's like, Steve, what about $8 million for 3 years? How fast does Steven Stamkos reach for the pen to sign the contract?
Right away.
Well,
Right?
so, but it makes you ask, maybe that's not what Steven Stamkos has in mind. Friedman reported that he said that he's heard multiple times that Stamkos wants to play 20 years, and he's 5 years out from that. Is
So he
Stamkos,
wants
like
5
you guys
years?
said, maybe with the past injury history, maybe he's saying, I'm taking 5, and that's it. I'm not taking 3. I'm not doing what Pavelski did. I'm not doing 3 + 1 + 1. I'm taking 5. But even then, like you can stretch it to 7 million for 5 years, 7.5. Like you can still fit that.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It's doable.
Maybe that is the point that Brisbane is not willing to go to, which I will say in that case, I'm a little more understanding. If Stamkos is not willing to budge off a 5-year term, I'm a little bit more understanding. But even still, I think that's the type of guy you bet on, even as he ages.
Two more things in regards to Stamkos, Pavelski, and Giroux. All of them were all centers at one point, and all of them have converted into wingers. However, Stamkos is still the only one that plays center part-time. Like Giroux and
Pretty regularly, yeah.
Pavelski, they're just
They all have different games, which is interesting too. Like Giroux,
right,
playmaker. Pavelski, net front.
Yeah.
Stammer, long distance, right?
Yeah.
1T. But you
1T.
know what? Stammer's actually become more of a playmaker too, but it's interesting. They all have a different play style.
He's kind of had to like mold into a playmaking role because of like the guys that he plays with, right? Like you have a lethal shot in Cooch on your line. Like, do you always want to be the one taking the one-timers? It's always good to have in your back pocket, but I mean, then you got that other lethal shot there. I wouldn't mind passing over the biscuit a couple of times if that's the case.
If you're Stammer though, if you go to free agency, someone's throwing like 9 million at him, like you were saying though.
Yeah,
he gets free agency.
100%.
I think he's worth it, to be honest. And at the end of the day, like, if you're the Bolts, like, just give him what he wants. He's gonna have a statue of him commissioned outside your building in what, like 6 years, 7 years?
Within the next 10, 100%.
Don't piss on his legacy. Don't piss on your legacy. Don't try to act all high and mighty for what. He brought you to the top.
Really weird.
Okay. We'll skip on the Capitals, except for I just want to say, Kuznetsov, please close your mouth, or like McClellan, like put a leash on him. Like I don't know what he's saying. If you guys didn't see, basically, Kuznetsov went on Russian broadcast. He went on blast calling out Laviolette, saying that we got a coach that didn't fit our play style. And then he also said to Alexiev, you would be foolish to believe that you would be anything more than a 7th man here.
Was this him, like he said this to Alexiev, or someone asked him about it? Did he bring it up unprompted? Do you know? I know it's
bel-
tough because it's lost in translation too.
Yeah, I
But okay,
believe what happened was someone asked him like, how do you feel about the Capitals situation? And then he went out and said he just went on blast.
he just
And
went on a
one
tirade and brought it up on his own.
yes, and
That's
one thing that he did say is, mind you, it's in Russian, translated English, but I have the quote here. It feels like in this organization, those who want to be there are kicked out, like Dmitry, well, like brackets in like Dmitry, and
Orlov,
those
yeah.
who don't want to be, and those who don't want to be are left there behind, like him, as he reportedly asked for a trade.
Well, but see, here's the thing, though, Brian. It's they probably are and have been trying to trade him. But if you're another team, do you want that? No,
No,
I'm not interested.
Or
You
if
guys
you
are stuck in
do
a
want,
pickle.
or if you do want that, are you meeting Washington's asking price? Because
It's
if I'm
you want
him,
me to take Kuzi? What else are you giving me?
yeah,
That's what it
right.
is.
yeah,
So what I will say is that he was interviewed before this, asked about Spencer Carberry, and he said this guy is a perfect match. This coach is what we need, which made me really happy to hear about.
love to hear that.
But then you hear all this, and I don't know how I feel about this as a fan.
So here's the thing: is he saying that? So is he the type of guy to after this year? Is he gonna go back on his word? Is Spencer Carberry gonna be the next victim of the
We gotta find the
Kuznetsov
quotes for
attack?
when Lavio was hired.
Yeah,
What was he saying about Lavio? This guy's a perfect
exactly.
fit.
Right.
Right? Yeah. I would say though from a distance that in terms of fit, I think Kuzi fits on the Capitals considering the Russian players that they still have, right? You want him under the mentorship of a guy like Ovechkin. I think that's the type of guy who can reach out to him and he'll listen to. I don't really know if there's a better situation out there for Kuznetsov. So maybe this really is one of those scenarios where you got to keep the marriage going and try to fix it internally. Like I don't really know if there's a solution by trading him out because it doesn't look like anyone's looking to take that on. So
the one GM that has come up quite a bit in Capitals fan talk is Nashville. Send him to a guy who knows his quality.
Ooh.
Send him to a team who has the money to take on that cap hit, and send
quieter
him to,
market too.
It makes sense on paper. It's just a question of will they be willing to take that risk? And I don't know.
Considering they just bought out Duchesne and
probably
Johansson,
not.
it's probably not.
It doesn't feel like that's the type of move that they'd be willing to make right now.
We'll see though. If he plays well, like this could all change, right? That's what you want here. Is you want Kuzi to play lights out, and then maybe a team says, okay, we can put up with the offseason interviews if you're going to play it for us like this, right?
Yeah.
It's the idea.
You got to put up with the Kings.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the idea of having a guy that can be a 10 on his good day, but a 2 on his bad day.
Yeah,
and that's
the
what we
roller
have
coaster.
Right.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's understandable.
That's all I have on Caps. We can jump ship to Toronto, my real hometown team.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. There's nothing like specifically going on right now with the Leafs that's like right at the forefront needs to be talked about in terms of like just a crazy big story. I don't know. I guess just in terms of things that have happened, there's like Nylander at center is a storyline. Right now, actually, as we're recording this, there was a preseason game on. Leafs' first preseason game. Nylander was in it. He was playing center. I think with Domi was definitely one wing. I think Nyes was the other one. I liked what I saw a lot. But some of the Nylander conversations are actually like the Kuzi ones. That sometimes he's a 10, sometimes he's a 3. Specifically defensively, like usually offense is like a 7, but he'll go just like cloud fog brain and look like, what are you doing in the defensive zone? But I don't know. It's probably a bigger deal than we're making it out to be. I could see it working, but I don't think we have the wingers to stretch out the lineup that thin. Like you can't have Lafferty on our second line, Dave, right? That cannot happen. Can it?
No. So
you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of Nick Aube-Kubel on the second line preseason last year. Remember that was supposed to be a thing? We're like, yeah, we're gonna try him with JT and Willie. We're gonna see how that goes. No.
So what I think the ultimate play here is there's only one spot up for grabs right now on the main roster, and it is that 2RW spot. Now, who's a player who's been injured, kind of been in and out of the lineup, looking to, get a third kind of fresh start at life? And obviously the player I'm talking about is Nick Robertson. I think up and down the lineup, I think Keith and Brad have their lineup set. All the way from it's like Bertuzzi, Matthews, Marner, whether it's
It sounds like nice Tavares right now.
Nice Tavares, and then I think X. Let's put placeholder Sam Lafferty. Yeah. So Sam Lafferty would be a guy that ends up getting moved down when
realistically he's on your fourth line.
Realistically, exactly. I think they're kind of already set for it seems like Noah Gregor is gonna get the fourth line spot right out of camp.
I like him.
So that means guys like Bobby McMahon, guys like Alex Steves, guys like who else am I think Ronnie
McMahon is apparently injured though, right? So he's a little
that's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate for him, yeah.
That is very unfortunate for him. Pontius Holmberg, he's
a center, but you could throw him on a wing. I like him a lot.
Do I want him at the second line wing?
No. But none of the fringe guys other than Nicky Robbie even works there at all. And even Nicky Robbie it's a flip of a coin, it feels like. Right?
So that's why I think right now it's like we've got the full roster basically set. This is just, fine-tuning the edges. It's can Nick come back from his previous shoulder surgery and be 50% of what we hoped out of him? It kind of, there was I don't know if you sent it in the chat, there was an article that went out recently, I think it was on The Score, where what did he say? He's like, I don't give a bleep.
I don't give a bleep. I don't give a crap. I don't give a choose your expletive about the noise around him dying down, like the hype.
Yeah.
I think for him, he wants that. He's not the type he's a very focused guy. Like you could give him that credit since he was drafted. The stories we were hearing about him that within the first month he was getting with the Leafs dietitian. It was like, give me the breakdown. What am I eating every day? Like he is dialed in. Sometimes too dialed in, right? That was one of the things that the problem was on the ice.
Yeah.
Right? That's how he got injured, it kind of felt like. He went in the corner so recklessly full speed that he ended up in this awkward situation. I don't know. You know what, honestly, this Nick Robertson talk reminds me of this. He's like, this is the new not new at all, honestly, but the holy trinity of what ifs. The Raptors was always Caboclo. 2 years away from Caboclo. Yeah, Caboclo. Yeah.
2 years away from being 2 years away.
Yeah, who hilariously he's Brazilian, right? And he beat Canada in the FIBA World Cup. Thank God we made good on that and they made the Olympics. But that would have been quite the story. But Caboclo for the Raptors, Robertson on the Leafs, and the Jays one for me was always Nate Pearson. Right? Who he's done something this year. Like he's contributed innings. Maybe he's not in leverage right now, but he gave us something. He gave us something this year, something tangible.
Nate Pearson
we could be there with Nicky Robbie.
Nate Pearson at one point was like going to be the next ace for the Jays.
But Dave, we were talking about Nicky Robbie, man. We were
exactly
right. Yeah, dude, and Caboclo was supposed to be Brazilian Kevin Durant.
Yeah, so now maybe I would rather Nicky Robbie comes into this season like Nate Pearson and just gives us the relief innings. Give us something to work with. Stay healthy. Stay on your feet. Keep your feet moving, because when he's on the ice, the dude is like genuinely electric. Like I can't deny it. Like that, his overtime winner against Dallas this past year was
awesome.
One of the most electric parts to like the opening stretch where they were genuinely not a good hockey team. We remember how flat they came out. One reason why we kind of made it out of that beginning stretch of the year where we were god awful was because of Nick Robertson taking on his brother in the Robertson Derby and kind of carrying the team on his back for that overtime period, right? So we've seen flashes for Nicky Bobby. Can he put it all together? Like I said, that's a perfect example. I didn't think of the three of them like that. If we get Nicky Robbie replicating Nate Pearson rather than replicating Bruno Caboclo, then I think that's our lineup basically set right now. I know we don't want to really like, I wouldn't really want to see Nick on the right side. I'd rather him play on his preferred wing. But I think right now for Nick, whatever option you get is the option you take. So
I don't even hate him on the right side because that means he's set up for 1Ts, right? And that's his bread and butter. So I wouldn't even hate that. I will say I'm probably not expecting him to make the roster. I don't know, but at the same time, it does look like they're giving him ample opportunity to go get it, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, there's only a couple spots. To me, our best roster still has Nylander and Tavares on the same line, whether that's Tavares at center or Willie, up to you. I don't really think it matters at the end of the day. Because then you could just have a third line with one of Nyes, Domi, Camp 3C, and Yarn Croak at your 3RW. And I think I'm totally fine with one of the fringe guys as our 4C. Like, give me Holmberg 4C. I'm fine with that. If it's Gregor on the left wing or Lafferty, right? Like, I'm fine with that, honestly, at the end of the day. I don't know what our best roster is. To me, honestly, if you're asking me what I think the best roster we could come up with, it's probably 11-7, where you don't even have the fringe guy. You eliminate him whatsoever. And then in that scenario, you probably have Reeves as the healthy scratch, so maybe that's unlikely too. Here's what I've got.
Yeah,
what's up?
You are forgetting one player who will definitely be playing opening night. Revo.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. We can't go 11-7 because that means scratching it, which isn't going to happen.
And it means scratching him and also probably somebody who could like make the team, like if a fringe guy, like
the fringe guy goes,
right,
you go because your fourth line ends up being like Camp or Lafferty and Reeves was where your fourth line would be. Your two extra guys, right? And then it would be to have Timmins be your 7.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, if it came down to it, if you could only keep one, because we're still like in a cap bind here. If you're the Leafs, you could only keep one of Lafferty and Timmins. You jettison the other one into the sun. Who are you keeping?
I prefer extra defensemen because you lose one, you're basically reaching into the depths of hell with the Marlies. So I would rather Timmins, but I think Lafferty gets a bad rep. I don't think he's unplayable. I think he's serviceable. The guy
he's an NHL player.
He is an NHL player, but maybe you get something out of him. I don't think, even if it's just to get rid of the money to make the money work. But yeah,
the money has to work. We have to make it work unless someone's getting injured.
100%. I think I would rather have the defenseman. I think there's more forwards looking for that opportunity than there are of defensemen that can make the jump now.
How many names do we rile off, right? Like, it's like, okay, so I like Hirvonen, there's Holmberg, there's Steves, there's Abruzzese, there's Bobby McMahon, there's
on defense,
there's Noah Gregor.
On defense is Topi Niemela.
And even him, he's never even like shown anything yet.
Yeah.
Like, we're waiting maybe this preseason.
Did he not only just have like his debut North American season last year?
Yeah, he came over halfway through the year. Brian, do you like have a rule in general, like if it's extra forward or extra defender, like who are you choosing, or is it like situation to situation? No. I'm not. I'm saying 12-6, but like the Leafs might have to choose between who. Not even extra, because so Lafferty, if we were to keep him, he's probably in our 12. Timmins would be our extra unless we go 11-7.
He'd be a 7.
But I'd still rather keep Timmins. I know people think like they'll be overrate Timmins, but I don't know. I like what he gives better than Lafferty.
The problem is with you guys is like Timmins makes like 1.3, and if he's like
they both make 1.1. Lafferty actually makes more, 1.15, makes an extra 50K. We're 500K over the cap.
So someone has to go.
Somebody has to go. To me, I always like to put things like I just gave you guys the comparables. I'm like, okay, so Nick Robertson is Nate Pearson and Bruno Caboclo. To me, Sam Lafferty is Nick Aubé-Kubel this year.
Yeah.
Right. I talked about the second line stuff. I think he's going to be the guy who's traded at the end of camp to make the roster fit. Just like I think Noah Gregor is this year's Zach Aston Reese. And
Yeah,
just
the
like I think
PTO.
Dylan Gambrell is this year's Adam Gaudette, and Simon Benoit is Ben Harper, and John Klingberg is Tyson Berry, and Domi is Bunting. Like there's just like all the equivalents, right? Like that's where I'm at with this. And to me, Timmins, like, do you remember that stretch there where he was like point per game for us?
Oh my
Dude,
god, you guys
he
need to
had-
stop talking about him.
Oh
did
my
the-
God.
He did the Davis
Yeah.
Schneider like
And
10
you're
points
right,
in like
that's a-
five
That's a good
games or
comp.
something
That's
like that.
Yeah.
And-
So
and then
listen,
he had one game
Yeah.
where there were two pizzas down the middle of the ice, and Dave would not give. Dave would
oh
not
no,
stop
it was a
giving
really
to him.
bad game. It was that game soured all of Leafs Nation on him.
Yeah, basically.
Listen, 14 points in 25 games. I really do think that you keep Timmins because we have an old blue line.
Yeah.
And let's say Klingberg gets injured. Timmins could totally
A lot
step
of-
in for Klingberg.
Mhm.
Yeah, like that's an easy one. You're honestly probably not losing that much. Honestly.
Like, we're actually gaining $3 million in cap
You know
space. So.
Yes, well, you gain the cap space, but in terms of performance, like it's not that dissimilar, right? So I think Lafferty is very much replaceable. It's nothing against him. He's speedy. He works hard. He's good defensively. He's a center, can take faceoffs, he can penalty kill. But we have a
You guys
bunch of
have
guys
so
who I
many of
think could do
those.
the same things.
Yeah.
We don't have someone. There's no one that's the Timmins. And you also got to remember, I think Timmins is like, he's a tall dude too. I think he's like, yeah, he's 6'2". We don't have a guy who's 6'2" that does what he does either. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. I'm looking at Ronnie Hirvonen in camp. He's my dark horse pick to like impress at camp. We talked about there's not spaces really on the roster, but he fits into that Holmberg tier for me, where he's like a water bug, energy type guy, works extra hard. I think he could impress. It's kind of all I got on Leafs right now, but we gotta wait for stuff to actually happen in preseason before we can get even more in the weeds. We got pretty into the weeds right now, but this is just the tip of the iceberg, honestly.
It's pretty crazy that next week would be our first episode going into like the main
Regular season.
like the regular season.
Yeah.
And I will be home for that week, like in the GTA, and then like
Let's go.
right after that, like I'm back here.
Then you're coming back.
like reading week, yeah. But like
You're coming
I
in
was
for
gonna
the
say, like-
dog. You're going in for the dog days after that, basically.
right, but like
Thank God you
technically-
got hockey, Brian, to keep you
thankfully.
entertained, though.
And then like what was I gonna say? I'll be home for that episode, which is gonna be like a little bit of throwback because like this is what like
Let's go.
this is what
The little
caps
thing.
thing in the
we've had
background. Let's
two
go.
episode throwback. It's only been like 2 or 3 episodes since you've been at your house. That's
I
kind of
know,
crazy
but-
though.
Yeah, my little caps frame thing.
Yeah.
If
We
you
miss
guys
it.
if you guys like win or anything like that, you guys have to get the same thing. It's like
Brian,
a ticket
you
for
know
every
what stuff I have?
Brian, I will be painting my room blue with my hands if we win.
my thing is like if they ever do the thing, what I would want is kind of like this a framed roster made up of like individual hockey cards. So probably not the rookie cards because some of them would be on different teams.
You
Like I'd
have
want it
those.
all to be Leafs. But well, I have like the core. I have Marner Matthews Nylander. I have their rookie cards, but like Tavares' rookie card would look weird on it. So I'd have to figure out like, but I'd want like the whole roster. You could set it up with like 3 lines and the pairs and the goal. Like I think that would be really cool. Like this is the cup-winning championship roster.
Maybe you try to find the card from every year that the player joins. So on like
maybe
it's
that's
like,
a good
it's
one.
like
Yeah,
it's like Domi,
the
like,
earliest version.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
Domi and that like Domi Bertuzzi. If they, God forbid, I'm gonna send L right now. If they win this year, it would be whatever hockey card gets published this year, whatever
This
you
year.
can get your hands
Yeah.
on. But like for Mitch, Austin,
good
Mitch
for
and
those
Austin,
ones.
it's like what 2017.
2016,
2016,
17.
17.
It's a really nice card too. Like the actual card looks really nice. I'm really happy with those. But I don't know. But trust me, Brian, I've been thinking about what's going in that spot, like you got there.
Dude, if the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, I want a piece of the cup in my room. Like I don't care. Like, just chip me off a piece of it. I'll take.
Well,
I'll take
you
like, the
better
bottom
hope
part.
Nick Aube-Kubel is back on the Leafs when we do that then, because
So-
he knows how to take a piece out of the cup.
If
So,
you're telling me right now that guy isn't going to like one of them are going to go to like Paris, Texas, and downtown Toronto and party with the cup, Dude, you're having a laugh right now.
Yeah.
Like that is 100% where they're gonna go.
Yeah,
I,
and we'll have a live pod from Paris, Texas when the Leafs
Yeah.
win the cup. Just announcing that now.
We're gonna
Get
get
that
a,
down.
a special guest on that one too. Special guest is
Yeah.
gonna be revealed that day. But he does play on the Toronto
yeah.
Maple Leafs.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Wow.
One more thing I do have of the Caps when they won the cup, I fucking panic bought this. Like as soon as they won, I bought this right away. It was it's a picture of the team holding the cup, but it's like the team photo, the one that you like, the iconic one they take, but it's this signed by every single player, and there's like 100 of them, and I paid like fucking.
It's not. Wait. Is there actual signatures, or is it like the screen print signatures?
That's a good question.
Okay.
That's a good question. Because there's a frame behind it, right? So, and I paid a lot of fucking money for that one. So
okay, so maybe it is the real deal then. Wow.
Why don't you put that one in frame?
Because the wall is only like this big, right?
Oh.
And then it made sense.
Fair enough.
But now I have this big glass window showing, the streets of Thunder Bay. But it's okay.
Hey, you'll run into a Stahl brother and Matt Murray in the next couple months, so I'm sure of it, right?
Maybe.
You'll see Eric Stahl walking the streets, but Eric, sign my window.
Eric,
you want a signature on the window.
Eric, you want to do a podcast?
Yeah.
Eric, you want to come
Mark.
on? Okay.
Jordan.
Anyway, any last words? Anything you guys want to say?
It's good to have hockey back.
Yeah.
Really scratched the itch for me today. The 10 minutes of preseason game I watched, honestly. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, it's itching it. I think we should. I think just give that quick shout out. We gave a shout out last week to the Team Canada, the women's Canadian national team, soccer team. They beat Jamaica 2-0. I believe they play tomorrow. Thank you to our to the person who created the sign up sheet,
the petition, the signing sheet. Yes.
Yeah, I forget
Shout out
what it's called.
Shout out to
Razor.
NHL Shop DTA if you want to get your Alex Killorn.
What about get your Winnipeg Jets heritage? What is that jersey even called?
So it's the 48. The 48.
The 48.
And the Jets, the Wild one is called the 78.
Maybe avoid the Jets one. Get the Wild 78 jerseys because those things are
Get ready for the Leafs 08 jersey. That's gonna look god awful. Okay, get ready for that one.
08?
Well, I'm just saying because 48, 78, I don't know. It's got to be with an 8.
It's going to be the worst. It's going to be the worst year in Leafs history too. I think that 08 team.
It's a terrible jersey too. It's pajamas. It's just got 2 stripes here, no stripes. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Burn those jerseys.
Get us out of here, Brian. Get us out of here, buddy.
I was gonna say you can watch the Leafs home opener on Hockey Night in Canada, but you can't. You can watch the second game against the Minnesota Wild on Fubo TV. Get your subscriptions in now, and we'll end it there.
Sweet.